The palace of Queen Lysera was unlike anything Elior had ever seen. Towers of shimmering metal rose into the pale green sky, their surfaces reflecting the twin suns of the planet. Crystals floated gently in the air, casting soft colors on the walls, and strange creatures scuttled or floated across the grand halls. The air was alive with energy, a hum that made even the most careful footsteps feel like whispers in a vast symphony. Queen Lysera herself sat upon a throne that seemed carved from living light. Her tall, graceful frame radiated authority, but there was elegance in every gesture. Her eyes, deep and violet, scanned her palace as though it were a living being she understood completely. And yet that morning, there was a flicker of unease in her expression. Something in the air felt different. The announcement of visitors came as a ripple through the palace. Aliens of many shapes and sizes hurried to prepare for the arrival of diplomats. This was supposed to be a routine visit. Humans had been known to send delegations to her planet before, but something told Lysera that this group was unusual. She could not yet put her finger on why, and she prided herself on rarely being wrong. When the delegation arrived, the doors to the palace opened with a soft hiss. Lysera's advisors bowed, and the humans entered. Elior was among them. He did not wear a suit of sparkling metal like the aliens. His clothes were simple, comfortable, and entirely human. His hair was a soft brown, his eyes warm and curious. He walked with a calm confidence, one hand resting lightly on the strap of a small satchel he carried, the other swinging freely. For a moment, the palace seemed to pause. The queen froze. Elior's face stirred something inside her. A memory, sharp yet blurred by years. She blinked rapidly, trying to push it away, but it clung stubbornly. It was him. She was certain of it. A human. Had saved her long ago when she had been at her most vulnerable. But could it really be? Could this man, calm and smiling, really be the one from that distant memory? Lysera's mind raced. She had been rescued during a disaster on a distant moon years ago. The ship she had been on had been damaged in a violent storm of plasma storms and magnetic pulses. She had been trapped, helpless, while her crew tried to repair the failing systems. And then, he appeared. A human. Brave, clever, and unafraid. He had risked his life to save her. She had never forgotten the moment, though she had only glimpsed his face in the chaos. Could it be him now, standing in her throne room? Her advisors noticed her sudden hesitation. "Your Majesty," one said cautiously. "The delegation awaits your greeting." Lysera took a deep breath, straightened her shoulders, and waved her hand gracefully. "Welcome," she said, her voice smooth but carrying a subtle tremor she could not hide. "Please come forward." Elior stepped closer. He smiled politely at the queen, his eyes gentle yet bright. "Your Majesty," he said, bowing slightly, in the way humans did. It was simple, almost humble, and yet it had an elegance all its own. "It is an honor to visit your palace. I hope we may build stronger ties between our worlds." Lysera blinked. His voice. It stirred another memory. Calm, steady, not afraid in the face of danger. The same voice she had heard years ago as he guided her from the wreckage, giving her instructions with patience and courage. Her advisors looked at her curiously, noticing the subtle change in her expression. Some whispered among themselves, wondering why their queen appeared distracted. The human delegation moved forward, exchanging bows and greetings with the alien courtiers. Elior's gestures were polite yet natural, his manner seeming to flow effortlessly between the alien customs and his own human habits. Every so often he glanced at the queen, as though studying her carefully but respectfully. He did not know that she was studying him just as closely, her mind replaying memories she had tried to forget. The hall was filled with a low hum of conversation. Aliens of every type mingled with the humans, some curious, some cautious. Elior noticed the floating crystals and smiled quietly, as if they reminded him of something from a storybook. "They are beautiful," he said softly to one of the alien guides. "Do they have a name?" "They are called looms," the guide replied. They react to the emotions of those nearby. You seem intrigued. Elior chuckled. I suppose I am. On my world, we do not have such things. They seem alive somehow. The guide nodded. They are. In a sense, everything here is alive, even the palace. Lysera watched silently, noting how Elior's curiosity was not just polite, it was genuine. Most visitors marveled at her palace and then grew bored or frightened. Humans, she realized, were different. They seemed to notice small details, to see patterns and to appreciate beauty in ways that were subtle yet profound. She could feel herself drawn to him, both by memory and by a quiet admiration. As the delegation continued, Elior moved naturally, among the courtiers, asking questions and listening carefully. When he encountered a problem, a device that would not activate, he did not panic or demand help. Instead, he studied it, touched it gently, and finally discovered the solution. The crystal lights responded to his touch, glowing brighter and pulsing rhythmically. The aliens watching whispered among themselves. He understands, one said. How can a human understand? Lysera's chest tightened. She could remember the same calm determination, the same cleverness, the same ability to solve problems, in moments when others had given up. It was him. She was sure of it now, yet she could not reveal it. Not yet. She had to be certain. She had to test her memory without embarrassing herself or revealing that she had been rescued by a human so many years ago. Elior, she said, her voice steady now. May I speak with you privately? He nodded politely. Of course, Your Majesty. They moved to a smaller chamber, away from the court. The walls were smooth, glowing softly with a calming light. Elior looked around, his eyes still bright with curiosity. It has been some time since humans visited, Lysera began carefully. You are familiar with our customs, I see. Elior smiled faintly. I have tried to learn. Every world has something unique to teach us. We hope to share knowledge, too. Lysera studied him. She could see the calm courage in his posture, the honesty in his eyes. It brought back the memory of that day long ago, when he had risked everything to save her from a failing ship. She had never thought she would see him again, and now, here he was, standing in her palace, as if no time had passed. You saved me, she whispered, almost to herself. The words surprised her, for she had not spoken them aloud for years. Elior tilted his head slightly. I remember a rescue, he said. A long time ago. Was it you? Lysera's eyes widened. He remembered. Yes, she said softly. It was you. I thought I would never see you again. Elior's smile grew gentle and humble. I did what anyone would have done, he said. But I am glad to see you safe and well. For a moment silence hung between them, filled only by the soft hum of the palace. Lysera felt a warmth spread through her chest. Humans were remarkable, not just in strength or speed, but in courage, in heart, in their ability to connect and care. She had known this in a small way the day he saved her. Now, years later, she understood it more fully. She rose from her seat. You must meet my advisors. They need to understand who humans are and why you are here. Elior nodded, bowing slightly. I am ready. As they returned to the grand hall, Lysera's heart felt lighter. This human, this man, was not just a visitor. He was a bridge between worlds, and she would make sure that both her people and his could see just how special humans could be. The palace doors opened, and the crowd of aliens watched as the human delegation stepped forward once more. Lysera held her head high, proud yet quietly amazed. A human had saved her once, and now that same human was here, walking among her people, ready to teach them what humanity truly meant. The hum of the palace grew louder, brighter, and for the first time in years, Lysera allowed herself to hope, not just for her people, but for the galaxy. The palace corridors were vast and alive with soft light, each step echoing gently against the smooth walls. Queen Lysera led Elior through the halls, her posture regal, but her mind was far from composed. She had to understand, truly understand, if this human was the same one who had saved her all those years ago. Memories, so vivid yet hazy with time, flickered in her mind like fragments of a dream. Elior walked beside her quietly, observing the palace with curiosity. Unlike most visitors, he did not merely marvel at the grandeur. He asked questions, simple, thoughtful questions, about the architecture, the crystals that floated through the halls, and the strange devices that hummed with life. His manner was gentle and respectful, yet his mind seemed to absorb everything, connecting patterns and meanings effortlessly. Lysera could not help but notice. Humans were different. They noticed the world in ways that aliens, even the most intelligent, often overlooked. They are called looms, Lysera said softly, pointing at the floating crystals. They respond to the emotions of those around them. Elior tilted his head, studying them. So they are alive, in a way? Yes, she replied. They are part of the palace itself. They sense feelings and reflect them. It is how our ancestors learned to communicate with the living world. Elior smiled faintly. On Earth we have nothing like this, but we have ways to feel the world too. We listen, we observe. Sometimes that is enough. Lysera's chest tightened. His words carried humility, but also insight. She felt a pang of admiration. Humans, they could survive and thrive, not because of strength or size, but because of understanding, compassion, and clever thinking. She remembered all of this vividly from the moment he had saved her. As they walked, Lysera's mind drifted back to that day, years ago, on a moon far from her throne. Her ship had been traveling through a dangerous storm of plasma and magnetic pulses. The ship's hull groaned, warning alarms shrieked, and systems failed one after another. She had been trapped in the command room, unable to move as sparks flew dangerously close. The fear had been overwhelming. She remembered thinking, it might be her last moment, that she might never see her people again. And then, through the chaos, a human had appeared. He moved calmly, without hesitation and without fear. Step back, he had instructed, voice firm but gentle. Trust me. She had hesitated. How could she trust someone so small, so fragile by alien standards? And yet, there had been no time to question him. He guided her through damaged corridors, using tools and quick thinking to bypass hazards. He repaired broken mechanisms with nothing more than a sharp mind and steady hands. When a door would not open, he improvised, creating a tool from fragments around him. Every step, every decision, carried courage and intelligence. She remembered the moment most clearly. A heavy panel had been about to fall, trapping her completely. The human had jumped without fear, pushing her out of the way at the last second. The impact had been violent, and yet he had emerged unscathed, his focus never faltering. She had watched him, amazed, and knew, at that moment, that humans were extraordinary. The memory made her chest ache, both from gratitude and disbelief. Could it really be him now, standing beside her in the palace she ruled? Could fate truly have brought the same human back into her life? Lysera shook herself slightly, forcing her thoughts back to the present. Elior was talking, asking about the palace's systems and the looms, but she barely heard him. She needed confirmation. Carefully, she began asking subtle questions. Your travels, she began, keeping her tone formal, have taken you across many worlds. You must have seen dangerous situations, yes? Elior nodded. Many. Sometimes nature is unpredictable. Sometimes machinery fails. But we learn from every challenge. Lysera's violet eyes narrowed slightly. Have you ever faced a situation where a life was at stake? Where someone depended entirely on you? Elior hesitated, his expression thoughtful. Then he said softly, Yes, I have. And sometimes the only way forward is to act without hesitation, even when the odds are against you. Her breath caught. The words were familiar. She remembered him saying something very much like this, as he had guided her to safety. His courage had not been loud or boastful. It had been calm, resolute, and selfless, exactly as it was now. She decided it was time to press further. And do you remember a rescue long ago on a distant moon? A ship in danger? Elior's eyes widened slightly, and then he smiled faintly. I remember. Yes. A ship damaged in a storm, a passenger. I think it was someone very important to their people. Lysera's heart leaped. He remembered. It was him. He remembered her. I was saved, she whispered, almost to herself, though the words trembled with emotion. By a human. I thought I would never see you again. Elior's expression softened. I did what anyone would do, he said, voice humble. I did not expect to be remembered. I am glad you are safe. Lysera studied him carefully. His human modesty, his gentle courage, the way he thought before acting, everything matched the memory she had held for so long. Her advisors would have found it strange, but she could not help her feelings. Humans, she realized fully now, were remarkable. They were small by alien standards, fragile, yet capable of courage, compassion, and ingenuity, in ways that even the most advanced aliens could not always comprehend. She led him to a quiet observation deck overlooking the palace gardens. Bioluminescent, plants glowed softly, reflecting colors in the still water of small streams that ran through the garden. It was peaceful here, far from the hum of the main hall. You saved me, she said again, more clearly this time, looking directly at him years ago. I never forgot. Elior's eyes softened. I remember too. I remember the storm, the damage, your fear, and your trust. You trusted me, even when it was dangerous. That made all the difference. Lysera felt a warmth in her chest, a feeling she had not experienced in years. Humans were extraordinary, not because of their strength, but because of their courage and their ability to connect. He had saved her without expecting anything in return. And now, here he was, returning to her world, not as a soldier, not as a conqueror, but as a diplomat, a bridge between worlds. She allowed herself a small smile. You are unlike any being I have ever known. Small, fragile, and yet you are remarkable. Elior returned the smile, a quiet, humble smile that seemed to radiate understanding. Thank you. We humans try to do what is right, even when it is difficult. Sometimes that is enough. Lysera nodded slowly. It is more than enough. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the bioluminescent plants sway in a gentle breeze. For Lysera, the memory of fear and rescue intertwined. With the present moment, she realized that humans, this human, had a way of leaving a lasting impression, not through power or dominance, but through courage, cleverness, and heart. Elior, she said finally, breaking the silence. I wish the rest of my court could see you as I see you now. Perhaps they will in time. He nodded. I hope so. We humans, we want to learn from others and to share what we know. Nothing more. Lysera smiled faintly. Then perhaps we can begin. There is much for us to learn from one another. The human's eyes lit with curiosity. I would be honored. As they returned to the main hall, Lysera felt a renewed sense of hope. A human had saved her once, and now that same human stood beside her, ready to show her people the remarkable qualities that humanity carried. It was not strength, not weapons, not power. It was heart, courage, and intelligence. And the galaxy, she realized, might one day see humans as she did. Small, fragile, yet capable of changing the course of worlds through quiet acts of bravery and understanding. The palace lights shone brighter, reflecting in her violet eyes. And in that moment she knew one thing clearly. This human, Elior, was extraordinary. and his presence would leave a mark that even time could not erase. The palace of Queen Lysera was alive with a soft, vibrant hum, the kind of energy that made every sound feel amplified yet gentle, as if the building itself was listening. The grand hall, usually bustling with courtiers, diplomats, and attendants, was quieter than usual. Queen Lysera had requested a private audience with her advisors, her mind still filled with thoughts of Elior, the human who had saved her years ago. She had seen courage in many beings, but humans were different. Elior waited in the hall, standing with his usual calm and composed demeanor. He observed the alien architecture, the floating looms, and the soft, shimmering patterns of light that flowed across the walls. It was fascinating, but more than that, he was aware of the queen's attention. He had felt it since the moment they had first met in the palace, a quiet curiosity and recognition, though he did not yet understand its full meaning. Lysera entered the hall, her advisors trailing behind her. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to mild suspicion. Some had noticed her distraction in the past days. Now, standing before Elior, the queen felt a mixture of awe and warmth. She had watched him walk through her palace, seen the way he interacted with her people, and remembered that moment years ago when he had risked everything to save her life. "Elior," Lysera began, her voice steady but carrying an unmistakable weight. "There is something I must ask you. Something from long ago." Elior tilted his head slightly, curiosity softening his features. "Yes, Your Majesty." Lysera studied him carefully. "Do you remember the day our ship was caught in the plasma storm on the distant moon? The day when many thought no one could survive?" Elior's expression flickered, a shadow of memory passing over his face. "I do," he said quietly. "I remember the chaos, the damage, and I remember helping someone to safety. I remember the fear and the responsibility." "Yes, I remember." Lysera's chest tightened. She took a careful step forward, her violet eyes locked onto his. "That someone there was me," she said softly. "You saved my life." Elior's eyes widened slightly, and then a gentle, humble smile spread across his face. I am honored to have been of help," he said. "I never expected to see you again. I only did what anyone who cared would do." Lysera felt a warmth spreading through her chest. Humans were remarkable, not because of their physical strength, not because of technology, but because of courage, intelligence, and the kindness that accompanied it. She remembered the way he had acted back then. Calm, clever, unafraid, and always thinking of others first. And now, standing in front of her, he radiated the same qualities. "I had almost forgotten your face," she admitted, her voice soft. "The memory was clouded by the chaos of that day, but the feeling, the courage you showed, it stayed with me." Elior's eyes shone with quiet humility. "It was a dangerous situation," he said, "but you trusted me. You trusted a human when everything else seemed impossible. That trust, it made all the difference." The queen's advisors exchanged glances. Some whispered, while others merely observed in silence. Few had ever seen their queen show such openness, such vulnerability. But Lysera could not hide it. Humans left an impression not through dominance or authority, but through quiet, unassuming bravery. Elior's presence reminded her of the extraordinary potential of humanity. "Your Majesty," one of the senior advisors said cautiously, "if I may, this human is remarkable, yes, but how can we be certain of his importance? He is small and fragile by our standards." Lysera turned to them, her gaze steady and commanding. "Do not mistake size or appearance for ability," she said firmly. "Humans are unlike any species we have encountered. Elior demonstrated courage, quick thinking, and compassion in moments where others might have faltered. He saved my life, without expectation of reward or recognition. That is worth noting." Elior inclined his head respectfully, acknowledging their cautious respect. "I only did what was necessary," he said. "I do not seek accolades, I only wish to understand and help where I can." Lysera nodded. And that is why humans are remarkable. Strength alone does not define greatness. Intelligence, empathy, and courage. These are qualities that shape worlds even if they are quiet and unnoticed. The advisors murmured among themselves. Slowly, understanding began to spread. Humans were often underestimated, even by the most advanced alien civilizations. Yet Elior's presence, his humility, and his competence forced them to reconsider. Perhaps humans were indeed extraordinary, not in brute force but in ways that could change the galaxy quietly and profoundly. Lysera turned back to Elior. "I wish to honor your deeds," she said. "Not only for what you did for me, but for the example you set. Your actions remind us that true heroism is not loud or boastful but thoughtful and brave." Elior's cheeks flushed slightly at her praise. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said softly. "I did not seek recognition. I only acted because it was the right thing to do." Lysera smiled. "And that is why humans leave a mark on those they touch. Your presence here, it is a reminder of hope, courage, and the power of choice." For a moment they stood in silence, the soft hum of the palace around them. Then Lysera spoke again. "I have been thinking. If one human can leave such an impact, imagine what your species could teach our people. Not through force or dominance, but through cooperation, understanding, and shared wisdom." Elior's eyes lit up with curiosity. "We humans, we learn from others and we hope to share what we know. There is no greater honor than to help others grow." Lysera nodded thoughtfully. "Then perhaps we can begin a new chapter, a time where humans and our people can learn from each other, where your qualities, courage, ingenuity, empathy, can help bridge our worlds." The advisors watched, some skeptical, some amazed. Elior's presence challenged their preconceptions. Here was a being who did not command armies or control technology. With brute strength, yet he commanded respect and admiration through character alone. The quiet influence of humans was undeniable. "Your Majesty," another advisor said carefully, "how do you propose we proceed? We have never collaborated so closely with humans before." Lysera turned to them, her violet eyes bright with resolve. "We will observe first. We will learn from them, and they will learn from us. Elior will guide this exchange. His perspective is unique. It is one we cannot ignore." Elior inclined his head. "I will do my best, Your Majesty. I hope to help your people as much as you have welcomed me." Lysera smiled, a mixture of pride and gratitude in her expression. "That is all I ask. Together we can explore what is possible when two worlds meet not in conflict, but in understanding." The Queen then led Elior to the palace archives, a vast chamber filled with knowledge from countless civilizations. Ancient scrolls floated gently in midair, holographic displays projected history in glowing symbols, and devices hummed softly, containing information older than the oldest living beings on the planet. "Here," Lysera said, gesturing around, "is where we store knowledge of our history, our discoveries, and our interactions with other species. If humans are to understand our world, and if we are to understand theirs, this is the place to start." Elior's eyes widened. "It is incredible," he murmured. "So much history, so much knowledge. There is so much we could learn from each other." Lysera nodded. "And that is exactly the point. Knowledge without understanding is incomplete. Humans have a way of seeing the world differently, through creativity, empathy, and intuition. We must learn to recognize those strengths, even if they are subtle." They spent hours in the archives, examining maps of distant star systems, learning about alien cultures, and discussing the lessons of the past. Elior asked questions thoughtfully, offering insights that surprised even Lysera's most seasoned advisors. He suggested solutions to long-standing logistical problems, demonstrated ways humans approached scientific inquiry, and showed a natural curiosity that was both humble and profound. The more she observed him, the more Lysera realized why humans were so remarkable. They could adapt to almost any situation, think creatively, and show kindness and courage simultaneously. It was a combination her people admired but had rarely encountered in practice. As the day drew to a close, Lysera and Elior stepped onto a balcony overlooking the city. Twin suns were setting, painting the sky in brilliant shades of green and orange. The palace glowed softly beneath them, reflecting light across the smooth surfaces and shimmering crystals. "You have reminded me," Lysera said softly, "of something I nearly forgot. Humans are capable of great things. Small, fragile, yet capable of changing lives through courage and understanding alone. You saved me once, Elior, and now you remind me that one human can leave a mark that lasts for generations." Elior's eyes shone with quiet humility. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only hope that we can continue to learn from each other, and perhaps inspire your people as much as you inspire me." Lysera smiled. "We will. This is only the beginning. The galaxy has much to learn about humans and much to gain from them, and I am grateful to have been reminded, in the most personal way, just how extraordinary your species can be." The stars began to shimmer as night fell. The palace hummed softly around them, alive with energy, knowledge, and hope. In that moment, Lysera knew one undeniable truth. Humans, though small and fragile by alien standards, possessed qualities that could transform worlds. The morning sun rose over the palace, casting long, shimmering rays across the gardens and reflecting in the crystalline towers. Queen Lysera stood on her balcony, her violet eyes scanning the horizon. Today was important, not for ceremonies, not for grandeur, but for connection. Humans were not soldiers nor conquerors, they were thinkers, learners, and teachers. And Elior, the human who had once saved her, would lead the first step toward bridging their worlds. Elior arrived promptly, carrying his satchel and a small toolkit. He greeted the queen with a slight bow, a gesture simple yet full of respect. "Good morning, Your Majesty. I hope I am not too early." Lysera smiled faintly. "Not at all. Today begins something new, something our people need to understand fully. Humans are not just visitors. They are potential partners, capable of thought, ingenuity, and courage in ways that we often underestimate." Elior's eyes sparkled. "I am ready to help in any way I can. Humans value knowledge and cooperation above all else." The first task was simple yet symbolic. Lysera led Elior and her advisors to the palace's energy cores, massive pulsing machines that powered the entire city. Recently, they had experienced small inefficiencies, and her engineers had been unable to identify the cause. It was a small problem, but one that had larger consequences if left unresolved. Elior approached the core carefully, his human hands light and precise. He observed the patterns of energy flow, the rhythmic pulses of power, and the subtle fluctuations that the palace engineers had overlooked. "The issue is not with the main system," he said softly, "but with the way energy distribution is balanced across the nodes. A minor recalibration will restore efficiency." An alien engineer, skeptical, crossed his arms. "You propose a simple recalibration? That will not solve the larger problem of the energy matrix." Elior smiled gently. "Sometimes the smallest adjustment has the largest effect. Observe." He worked quickly, using a combination of human tools and improvised devices. Within moments, the energy cores hummed steadily, their light brighter, their rhythm smooth and perfect. The palace engineers exchanged stunned glances. "It is remarkable," one whispered. "He sees what we could not." Lysera nodded proudly. "This is what I meant when I said humans are different. They do not rely solely on strength or complex calculations. They observe, think, and act with creativity and intuition." Elior looked up from the core, smiling modestly. "I only applied what humans learn from observation and careful thought. Any being could do this with time and attention." But Lysera knew it was more than that. Humans had a spark, a combination of curiosity, empathy, and ingenuity that no machine or study could replicate. This spark allowed them to act decisively in moments of need, to solve problems others considered impossible, and to inspire trust and cooperation. After the demonstration, Lysera invited Elior to speak with her council of advisors. The chamber was vast, filled with holographic displays of star systems, alien species, and technological schematics. Aliens of many forms gathered, some hesitant, others intrigued. Today, Lysera began, you will meet humans as I see them, not as invaders or strangers, but as partners. Elior will demonstrate the qualities that make his species extraordinary. Elior bowed slightly. I hope to show that cooperation and understanding can achieve what force cannot. The first exercise involved a simulation of a resource shortage on a distant planet, a challenge the Council had faced before. Aliens had struggled to distribute limited energy supplies efficiently, often prioritizing the strongest or most influential settlements. Elior observed the simulation, listening to the Council members' suggestions. Then he spoke, softly but confidently. Instead of prioritizing by size or influence, we consider need and potential. Every settlement has unique abilities. By distributing resources to encourage growth and cooperation, the entire planet thrives more efficiently. The Council looked skeptical. That is unusual, one said. We are used to hierarchy and control. Elior smiled. Hierarchy can be useful, but it is not the only way. Humans value understanding and trust. When beings work together, respecting each other's strengths, the outcome is greater than the sum of its parts. The Council ran the simulation using his suggestions. Slowly, the results changed. The planet's population thrived, conflicts decreased, and energy use became more efficient. Aliens exchanged surprised glances. It works, an advisor whispered. Our way is rigid. Humans see beyond rigidity. Lysera's chest swelled with pride. This is why humans are extraordinary. Not through power, but through insight, creativity, and empathy. Elior has reminded us that sometimes the smallest ideas applied wisely can change entire worlds. Over the next few days, Elior worked with Lysera's people on several projects. Agriculture. He suggested techniques that optimized alien crops without damaging delicate ecosystems, blending human ingenuity with alien biochemistry. Transportation. Simple logistical adjustments improve the efficiency of trade and travel between cities, reducing delays that had plagued their systems for decades. Education. Elior demonstrated teaching methods that encouraged critical thinking and creativity among young aliens, inspiring them to explore and innovate rather than merely follow rules. Through every task, he showed humility and respect, never boasting or seeking recognition. Lysera watched him interact with her people, noting how naturally humans could build trust and cooperation. Aliens who had been skeptical began to approach him with questions, eager to learn. One evening, Lysera and Elior walked through the palace gardens. The air was filled with the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, and the streams reflected the twin moons above. It was peaceful, and yet the work they were doing felt monumental. You see, Lysera said softly, your presence here has changed, more than these projects. You have changed the way my people think. They are beginning to understand that greatness is not only strength or technology, it is courage, understanding, and cleverness. Elior nodded. Humans have learned the same lesson. We rely on each other, trust each other, and think creatively. We are not the strongest, but we adapt, learn, and care. That is our power. Lysera smiled. And it is a power the galaxy cannot ignore. You saved me once, Elior. But now, you are saving more than me. You are saving potential, the potential of understanding between species. Elior looked thoughtful. I hope we are doing the right thing. My goal is simple, to help and learn. If others benefit from that, then all the better. Then you have succeeded, Lysera said firmly. Already, the next step was the creation of a formal human-alien exchange program. Elior would teach humans about alien technology, culture, and governance, while Lysera's people would learn from human ingenuity and perspective. It was unprecedented, a peaceful collaboration, with no coercion, no conflict. Lysera addressed her council again, this time with a clear and firm voice. Humans may be small, but they are capable of great things. Their courage, empathy, and cleverness allow them to solve problems we cannot. They are not here to dominate, but to teach and to learn. We must open our minds to this possibility. The council listened. Some were still hesitant, but most began to see the truth. Humans were extraordinary, not through force, but through their heart and mind. Elior worked tirelessly, often late into the night. Yet he never complained. He spoke softly with the young students, helped engineers solve complex problems, and shared stories from Earth, stories of teamwork, bravery, and compassion. Every interaction left a lasting impression. Lysera observed quietly, realizing something profound. Humans could inspire change without weapons, without threats, without coercion. Their influence came from their actions, their intelligence, and their character. It was subtle, but powerful. One evening, as the twin moons reflected off the palace waters, Lysera and Elior stood on the observation deck, looking at the city below. The lights of the palace glowed softly and the air hummed with quiet energy. "You have done more than I imagined," Lysera said. "Your species has a subtle power. They inspire trust, cooperation, and innovation, simply by being who they are." Elior smiled, modest as always. "We humans try to do what is right. We learn, we help, and we hope to leave the world better than we found it. That is all we can do." Lysera nodded, her heart filled with admiration. "And yet that is enough. That is more than enough. You remind us that small beings can change worlds, not by force but by courage, understanding, and the wisdom to act when it matters most." The two stood in silence, watching the city, the glowing gardens, and the stars above. The palace hummed, softly around them, alive with energy, knowledge, and hope. For the first time in her reign, Lysera felt certain that humans, though small and fragile by alien standards, were a force of change unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. The day had arrived. The grand hall of Queen Lysera's palace was filled with light, sound, and quiet anticipation. Aliens of all shapes and sizes had gathered for the ceremony that would celebrate the first formal human-alien exchange program. It was a historic moment, not marked by weapons or conquest, but by curiosity, respect, and the desire to learn from one another. Elior stood near the entrance, adjusting his satchel and glancing at the intricate patterns of the palace walls. He had been part of this world for several weeks now, helping Lysera's people understand humans, sharing stories, teaching methods, and offering solutions to long-standing problems. And now, the time had come for the galaxy, or at least this part of it, to recognize what humans could truly offer. Lysera appeared beside him, her regal presence commanding attention even in the crowded hall. Her violet eyes sparkled with pride and gratitude. "Today," she said softly, almost to herself, "we witness what happens when beings choose understanding over fear, cooperation over competition." The Queen stepped forward onto a raised platform at the center of the hall. The aliens quieted immediately, their attention focused on her. "Citizens of my world," she began, her voice resonant yet gentle, "we have been fortunate to host visitors from a distant planet. Humans, a species small in size but mighty in spirit, have joined us. Among them is Elior, the man who once saved my life many years ago. Today we honor his presence, his courage, and the example he has set for us all." A quiet murmur spread through the hall. Humans were few, and many aliens had not yet fully understood their importance. Yet Lysera's words carried weight and her people listened carefully. Elior stepped forward humbly. "Your Majesty, I am honored by your words, but I do not seek recognition. I am simply a human who has done what humans have always tried to do: help, learn, and share knowledge." The real honor is to witness what your people can achieve when we work together." The queen smiled warmly. "And that is the heart of humanity. Strength is not measured by size or force, but by courage, intelligence, empathy, and the willingness to act." Elior has reminded us of this truth, and through him we have begun a new path, one that unites our worlds in friendship and understanding. The council members, once skeptical, now nodded in agreement. The demonstration of human ingenuity, patience, and cooperation over the past weeks had impressed them. Systems had been improved, students had been inspired, and the smallest inefficiencies had been corrected, all without force, without conflict, only through thoughtfulness and clever action. One young alien scientist stepped forward. "Your Majesty, Elior's methods have shown us something remarkable. Humans do not rely solely on rules or power. They observe, adapt, and innovate. Their solutions are often simple, yet profoundly effective. I believe we can learn much from them." Elior smiled softly. "That is the goal. We learn, we share, and we grow together. In my world, cooperation and understanding are the strongest forces we know." Lysera's heart swelled with pride. She had always known humans were extraordinary, but seeing them in action, helping, teaching, inspiring, was more than she had imagined. They did not need armies or weapons. Their strength was subtle, quiet, yet transformative. After the speeches, Lysera invited Elior to lead the first human-alien workshop. The participants were a mix of engineers, scholars, students, and curious citizens. Elior guided them in practical exercises, designing better energy distribution systems, building on the improvements he had suggested earlier, creating hybrid agricultural techniques that combined alien biochemistry with human ingenuity, encouraging creative problem-solving through games and simulations, teaching aliens to think flexibly rather than relying solely on rigid rules. Every interaction left a lasting impression. The aliens were astonished at the simplicity and effectiveness of human methods. They began to see patterns and solutions that had eluded them for decades. And through it all, Elior remained humble, patient, and respectful, never seeking praise. Lysera observed quietly from a distance. She realized that humans had a quiet power, a power that changed minds and hearts without fear or violence. They inspired cooperation, trust, and ingenuity. They reminded all beings that greatness could come from small, unlikely sources. As the workshop concluded, Lysera addressed the audience once more. "What you have seen today is more than a lesson in technique. It is a lesson in perspective. Humans, though small, have the ability to inspire change through courage, creativity, and empathy. Let this be the beginning of a lasting relationship between our worlds." Applause echoed through the hall, though not all aliens were quick to express it in such a formal way. Still, the mood was bright, hopeful, and filled with curiosity. Later, as the hall emptied, Elior and Lysera walked through the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected in the streams, and the bioluminescent plants glowed softly in the evening light. "You have done more than I could have imagined," Lysera said quietly. "Not just through teaching or solving problems, but by showing my people what humans are capable of. You've changed minds and hearts." Elior shook his head, smiling. "I have only done what humans do. We learn, we help, and we hope to leave the world better than we found it. The real change comes from your people, from your willingness to embrace new ideas." Lysera considered his words. "Perhaps humans have a way of reminding us that courage and ingenuity are not measured by size or power, that even the smallest being can leave a mark on the galaxy." Elior nodded. "Yes, and every being has the ability to do so, if they act wisely and with care." The queen and the human walked in silence for a while, enjoying the peace of the gardens. The palace hummed, softly around them, alive with energy and potential. In that quiet moment, Lysera reflected on the journey that had brought them here, from the stormy moon years ago to this bright, hopeful future. "You know," she said softly, When I first saw you again in the palace, I froze. I remembered that day, but I could not believe it was really you. And now I understand. Humans are remarkable. Elior's eyes softened. Thank you, Your Majesty. But it is not just me. Humans as a whole have these qualities. We learn, adapt, and care for others. That is our greatest strength. Lysera smiled. And now the galaxy will see it too. You have created a legacy, Elior. Not one of conquest, but of understanding, friendship, and hope. Weeks passed, and the human-alien exchange program flourished. Students and scholars traveled between planets, learning from each other. Engineers and scientists collaborated, creating solutions that were once thought impossible. The influence of humans spread quietly but powerfully, shaping minds and inspiring creativity. Lysera often observed Elior in these moments, guiding, teaching, listening. She realized that humans were different from any species she had known. Their strength was not visible at first glance, but it was undeniable. Courage, empathy, and intelligence. These were qualities that could move worlds, and humans possessed them in abundance. One evening, Lysera invited Elior to the observation deck again. They looked out over the city, now vibrant with energy and activity, reflecting the lessons humans had shared. You have changed more than systems, she said softly. You have changed perspectives. My people will not forget what they have learned from humans, and I will not forget the courage and kindness that saved my life and inspired so much more. Elior looked thoughtful, his expression humble. It is an honor to be part of this. Humans do not seek glory, we seek understanding. And if that can help your people thrive, then that is the greatest reward. Lysera smiled. Then consider it done. Your legacy will last, Elior. Not because of what you built, but because of what you taught and inspired. Humans have left a mark on this world, quietly and profoundly, and that mark will grow with every life you touch. The twin moons rose higher, casting soft light across the palace gardens and the city beyond. The hum of the palace, once a simple background noise, now felt like a song of life, learning, and hope. The galaxy was vast, filled with countless species and civilizations. Yet humans had proven that even a small, fragile species could shape the future through courage, creativity, and heart. Elior and Lysera stood in silence, watching the city glow. They had begun a journey together, one that would ripple across worlds. And in that quiet moment, both understood a truth that had carried through time. Greatness does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, it teaches, and it inspires. And humans, through Elior, and through the countless others like him, had found a way to whisper greatness into the galaxy, leaving a legacy that would last for generations. The stars twinkled above, reflecting in the streams below, as if the universe itself acknowledged the quiet power of courage, intelligence, and empathy. The queen and the human stood side by side, knowing that their worlds were forever changed, not by force, but by the extraordinary heart of humanity.